Right, welcome back. MacArthur's War, MDG Games. It's the communist phase of January 1951. First, from the previous video, I had to do some tweaks to the combat results again for the second time. I forgot with the bitter weather +1 DRM on all attacks. So if you remember any of the attacks, it was an attack up here against I believe a 5/8 North Korean division. It turned into an exchange instead. So that unit is gone, and the South Koreans lost a unit. The unit that was destroyed in the center still was a DE, even with the +1. But the +1 over here crossing the river, instead of being a DE, became a defender retreat. Hence the two North Koreans have retreated. So we're now in the communist phase, and in the end, this game is balancing victory points, and there's multiple levers to pull for the player. I mean, it's a rather not too big battle on the Korean Peninsula, and combat victories here are important. But you have to look at it in the context of what's the victory point spread, and also what's the level of escalation. We're currently at limited war. So this is the one that applies. See, North Korea and South Korea are in scope. Looks like the nationalist Chinese can be involved. Now, right now, air power is solid now, but to get these resources, victory points must be spent. This would be mobilizing divisions on the mainland U.S., etc., National Guard divisions. And I did point out the last video, mobilization is not actually into the battle scope, it's just they appear here on a friendly city. So it looks like here I can bring in the UN can bring in nationalist China armies from Formosa, Taiwan. And again, now it doesn't cost one to mobilize a PLA army. It only costs one to have them cross the border and go to North Korea. Hence, last turn we placed all the Chinese armies on the Chinese side. And it's at this point now that the U.S. can start using atomic bombs, but it costs one. Now this is what I find interesting. When you shift to the next level, notice the list shrinks, which implies now that U.S. divisions in the mainland United States don't cost anything to, bring on board. The National Guard does. The USSR, it doesn't cost anything to mobilize, so all their troops that are left can appear on the Russian side, and like the Chinese, you start paying one per USSR division. And this is telling me atomic bombs don't cost anything. But on the other hand, this is telling me this goes away. The PLA army can go anywhere they want. So there's pros and cons for everything here. And in the end, the ultimate decider is the victory points. And we're kind of playing on a nice edge here. Currently there's this, looks like a 4-point spread. Yep. So doing the math, so looking at the victory point spread, I may have just repeated myself, but that's okay. Right now we're only in North Korea. The only victory points left the UN doesn't have are these 3 ports and Pyongyang. If they were to take all of those, that would be a 4-point drop here, and a 4-point increase would be a clear win. If they take Pyongyang, then you'd have this drop to 6, just drop to 4, and then if they were able to reach out and get this port, then we'd have a tie ball game. So it's close. I mean, that's possible here. The Chinese really can't bring in lots of armies because at this point they have to pay 1 victory point. The North Koreans, when we talk about their options, are probably going to do that, but the VP spread is tight. The other danger is, 2 Marine divisions sitting in a port ready to appear anywhere. Well, here's a victory point, here's a victory point. Who knows? They may try and take this one. And the Chinese are the only units that can defend these. So I don't know if they can respond fast enough. So again, just like going from police action to limited war was unlike real life, a communist decision. Uh, they may be in a situation where, depending on how this goes here, where they may want to escalate to an Asian war. And then all the victory points up here and the Russians over here come on the game. And also, if they go to an Asian war, all these armies are free to go wherever they want to. But they have to be careful about an invasion of mainland China by the nationalist Chinese. And that it's pretty much a roll. And then they get modifiers for how many Chinese armies are present in China, how many atomic bombs the U.S. may want to use, nationalist Chinese divisions, and that kind of changes these here. So, and this is ongoing every turn until you come to perhaps an end of this. So they can't totally abandon China. And then again, if it goes to an Asian war, paying VPs, you can bring the USSR in. And guess what? It doesn't cost anything to mobilize them anymore. So, interesting dynamics here. That's what I'm trying to point out here. Beyond your typical Korean War game, not down marking any of these, this brings a whole nother dimension. And in the USSR's point of view, 4, 8, 9. There's 9 mech divisions available if they get in the war too. Then we can always escalate to global war. Atomic bombs are interesting. I played NATO 61. The tactical nukes were pretty devastating on combat units, but not here. If we do have to talk about using these, I'll pull the rules up. But yeah, the only thing atomic bombs do to combat units is you roll a d6, and if you roll a 6, everybody has a step loss. That's not very impressive. But what they can do is you can deny victory points from players. If you say, no, I'm targeting the port, whoever has this victory point, now it's gone. The port can't be used anymore, and it no longer generates a victory point. So that could be a manual way to mess with that. But then there's collateral damage. Would you use atomic bombs kind of like MacArthur? They weren't going to use it here. He wanted to escalate the Asian war and invade China and start dropping atomic bombs. And you do see once you go from here to here that atomic bombs don't cost anything. But there is this collateral damage table. So, I mean, that's a brief overview of atomic weapons. Again, this is 1951 we're talking about, not 1961 like my previous series, NATO 1961, when Soviets went tactical nuke right away, mainly because of an accident. So not quite as powerful here. And then there's this radioactive waste concept here. Makes a hex. Any units in it makes it in. They can't go in it. Like I said, when and if we escalate to this, I'll go to that. But with all that being said, it is now the communist turn. And if we look at the sequence of play, there is no weather phase. Sorry, getting there. Yeah, here we go. There is an escalation phase, and as our discussion was, at this point they're not going to do that. Reinforcement phase, they get replacement points, and guess what? The North Koreans still get 2 because they have Pyongyang. The Chinese have not lost anything, so they don't have to use theirs. Okay. No offboard, strategic movement. There is none right now for the communist player. Then offboard conflicts phase, there is none. Then the movement phase. So the question is, I'm sorry, I misspoke. In the reinforcement phase, the Chinese have to decide how many armies. Do they want to bring any more armies across the border? Now, I know for a fact I want 1, but I was debating 2, like these 2. This is where the battle is. If they do those two and they hold the the UN, they'll still win by 2 victory points. But as soon as they lose one of those, if they lose Pyongyang or the Marines get one, it would be a tie if they use 2. I did consider perhaps counterattacking here using wave effects. Chinese wave, the first time they use it, they get a 2 right shift, but the 7th Fleet here would take it down to a 1 right shift, and just running the numbers, I saw the best, well, you could do a 3-to-1, and then it would go up to a 4-to-1 because of that. But the problem with wave attacks is the Chinese, well, it can only be a Chinese-only attack, so I'll have to use 5 Chinese units. They immediately lose as many steps as a defender. In this case, it would be 2. So along with the results, the Chinese would also lose 2 steps. And in it would be 3-to-1 probably. Yeah, we've got DR. I don't know, just a DR, is it worth it? In the losses we're going to have, that'll weaken us right before the UN tries to take Pyongyang. So I kind of rejected that notion. This was a little sleeper here. I didn't realize. I would have taken more advantage of it when the tides were turned here by, you saw in the previous turn, North Koreans can have up to 6 divisions melt into the whatever countryside and take 6 victory points from the UN, but at least we got 3. So I'm thinking at this point, do we think we can hold and prevent them from going here and the Marines from taking here? I don't know, but we're going to take that chance. So 2 armies here are mobilized. I mean, more than mobilized now. They're coming into the scope. Just spent 2 VP for that. So with their movement phase, suddenly these units I don't think will be coming down to help. I think what they're going to do is defend against the Marines, I guess. I'll just put him there for anything better. Now we've got to screen this off, so he could go 2, 4, 6. Again, the Marines could get in there. We just can't get there fast enough. And then there's Pyongyang. Not sure if that's really... Now with the victory point expenditure, the UN may decide, okay, forget Pyongyang, let's just grab this guy. And we'll see what happens. But for Pyongyang, trying to decide how to defend here, this is the strongest defense possible here, 10, 18. And I did get 2 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's see if I move. Oh, this is a 4-stacker. Awesome. That's a 3-stacker. Let's see. I was thinking of putting this guy here. Guard the river. And let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nobody can get to here. That would be awesome if they could get to there. But they can't. And then our problem is this is a weird hex here. If the UN takes it, they can attack Pyongyang from there, but it can't go here. So is it worth defending? And I did bring in this 4-stacker. Problem is if I put an army here, a Chinese or anybody who's here, if they're attacked, really, well, they got to retreat through Pyongyang, and then it's an overstacking. So that's not the best spot to be, but should you surrender it to the UN and give him 1 more hex where units attack without the halving? See, and then if they put somebody here and put somebody here, well, and I still got 1 more army to place. 1, 2, 3, 4. See now this guy, if I put him, they could make it all the way in here, and then these guys could go up here and make this stronger. Sorry for the silence, my headphones aren't cooperating. So this is a Joker hex. Alright, I don't think it's worth keeping this hex in strength. So this guy's 1, 2. Thought I had a solution for this. I gotta leave somebody here just because they've got to be attacked. I don't know. Let's put this guy 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's move these units here. One of these units here. Okay, and that's just he'll probably die. That's okay. And then obviously we've got to reinforce. Well, these two can go up here. Well, what I can do is, let's see, this guy here. Could I even close the door here? I could. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he could get all the way here and close the door. As opposed to the UN going here and then getting one guy to go here. Let's try that. This guy will go here. And then we'll put this guy here. And this guy, we can make it here. So there we go. Okay. Yep, that's okay. It's okay. Okay, so the Chinese and, well, the North Koreans are holding. So I think that's the best well, I don't know if it's the best, but it's something here. Actually, they could take this hex with the old zone of control trick. One of these guys could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this guy could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I can't get anybody there. So we're probably going to lose that one. Maybe I shouldn't have spent so much, but if we could just get these guys down here, if they could have gotten them down here in time. Alright, well, let's see. That's the end of the... Oh, I want to move these guys. Ideally, let's just move these guys up close so when if the call comes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they are ready to cross the border. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're ready to cross the border in a hurry. Let's get these guys. These are just rough ways to come through. I don't know if that's great, but these guys definitely 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That gets them a little lower. This guy I'll put here. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just line the border. 5, 6, 4. Okay, they are chomping at the bit. Yep. Alright, I think that's it. So that takes us to the movement phase, atomic no, combat, end phase. Alright. May challenge his opponent. Oh wait, we can do this now. Let's take a quick look at that. Oh, it gave me the number here. This is a viable way. 20.4. Let's take a look at that rule and see. Again, if they lose one, it's over. This is okay. Beginning in 1951, which we're there, stalemate challenge may be made by the phasing player during the end phase. If a player challenges his opponent, the challenged opponent either accepts the stalemate or must prove that a stalemate does not exist. To prove a stalemate does not exist, the challenged player must gain at least one victory point in the next 2 turns. And yeah, victory point, it's got to be taking a victory point hex. The game continues. If the player does not capture a victory point, game ends. Or the challenger player could change his mind. So, well, it doesn't hurt to challenge and it'll fail, but they're going to challenge. Because there's no penalty, it looks like, to challenging. 1 stalemate challenge each game year. To avoid abuse, which I was just going to do. So we're not going to use it because they're in a position multiple ways to get a victory point, and I'll be wasting the challenge. So that brings the communist phase to an end. Let's turn these off of. Wow, that's a lot of Chinese. So next turn, UN. They can tie the game, and if they get an invasion, they could get the lead. But then the problem is they have to kill all these units in scope to end the game. Okay, so here we go again. Levers to pull, but not assuring it. There's not necessarily some magic plan. So maybe those 2 VPs were good because now these units are in the scope. And we do see for either side, you got to roll a 4, 5, or 6 to get an Asian war. So I think that ends it for the communist phase. Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. But I'll find out if I did. Otherwise, thanks for listening. Please like if you like, and subscribe if you want to know when I send the next installment, which will be February 1951 UN phase. Right? Again, thanks for listening.